Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando, and it is time for another Ando story time. Sorry for the delay, guys. My life was crazy. I was working like 15, 16-hour days. I was barely even logging into the game. Just how little time that I had between family time and work time, and then obviously whatever I had left was for Galaxy of Heroes. But we're back. We're going to talk a little bit about some stuff. Got some big news. Personal news. That's probably what I'm going to end up captioning the video. So be sure to stick around for that. And there's also been a lot of news that came out this week that we'll kind of get you all caught up on. Hopefully, we'll give you guys some cool little nuggets of wisdom, I guess. So let's start off with the Galaxy of Heroes news as it applies to everyone. And if you guys are new to this, the format of this is just really me like narrating, so that way you guys can kind of catch up, like somewhat like a podcast, I guess, but not really a podcast, just me talking, giving my 2 cents as well, and then giving some advice on farming, what I'm currently doing, all that stuff. So let's go ahead and quickly hop into over here into this screen right here. So let's swap over and stop this. All right, so move my face up here. It's a perfect place for it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is that on the 16th of October, we got an update which basically pushed the punishing one into our game, right? There was also a in that same update that we got Captain Enoch shards that were farmable on the light side. Another hard node farm. So if you are like triple refreshing, you can really only get to 2 nodes a day, right? Like basically how the energy cap works, unless you're just spending extra crystals beyond your 150, you really are kind of limited to like 2-ish hard node farms. This is currently our 3rd. I just finished up Night Trooper, so now I'm right back to where I was, where basically all my energy's going there. It's rough. They know it. That's why they're doing this. There's a few bug fixes in here. Nothing that's super notable, at least in my opinion. So yeah, you guys can go up on reading that. So again, 10/16, remember that date. The punishing event or punishing one event is set to go live the next day, right? 10/17. Okay, so on 10/17 though, basically a few hours after the event was released, we got a very typical. I hate to be I hate to be that guy. I don't even think it's pessimism. It's just kind of funny at this point. But we got the notorious post of, hey guys, we're aware that like this thing is performing outside of the range which we originally intended it to be, right? And if you remember back on the post, when they basically told us what it's going to do, it said, hey, it's going to make everything harder, but we still expect it to kind of lose to Leviathan, right? And if you guys have been living in real time, you guys know that like it has done all that and has made Leviathan a little bit of a harder fleet climb to control against when you're on offense. And if you're controlling, Executor with the punishing one, you can win, right? Like it's not really a question of what, if it's more like how many times can you do it kind of thing. So they said like, hey, we're keeping action on it. Now, to make a caveat to playing devil's advocate here, a lot of people in my alt guild, they're a little bit newer to the game. They were like, oh no, this is them. They're gonna nerf everything. And I was like, whoa, hold on, guys. They have had a really strong track record in actually not nerfing, and actually to take it a step further, they've actually had a really good track record in saying we're investigating on this, and then actually saying, yeah, something's up with this, but we don't care, or like, I don't know, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they just really don't do anything about it. They just kind of let it be. So yeah, they usually like, yeah, we're investigating, and then they just usually don't follow up. They're like, yeah, cool. I guess First Order now beats, Executor back in the day, or like Marauder not really going with Mace's fleet, and there's just a ton of events like that, like where they end up saying we're investigating and then they don't really do much. So not very weird, especially with ships. I feel like with ships, if it's characters, sometimes they'll like, okay, yeah, like this needs to be fixed. Ships, there, I feel like is more a mystery to them. They're just sort of like, yeah, sounds good. I guess it's doing that now. So in their defense, though, they came out with an update to the Punishing One again 3 days ago. And I will say this: if we're gonna give them a few daggers about, I guess that's a no pun intended here, but we're gonna give them a few shots on, the timing, I guess they don't test anything, etc., which is all very well traveled, discourse. We should also credit them to that they did their investigation, they came forth with what like their road ahead to this is, which their road ahead to this is basically right now, the way that Executor is beating Leviathan the easiest is with Sith Assassin. And I just want to take a quick moment and just RIP to all the people that R9 Sith Assassin to go first in that mirror match, because it sounds like they're going to do away with that. It sounds like they're going to kind of go away from all that stuff. So basically they said, like, listen, like, when we're considering this, they're satisfied with how Punishing One is performing in all other battles. So they're not going to plan on like currently adjusting Punishing One directly. But they do see a problem with what, especially how they currently intended, which is they said straight up like, hey, like we don't want this to be Leviathan, or we don't want this to be a counter to Leviathan. This is where, they're saying, hey, TIE Dagger is the one that is going to get buffed, right? We're going to buff that, and we're going to buff it in such a way that actually makes it better even in the mirror match. So that way you guys can still win your battles while not having to have the kind of, I won't call it toxic, but it's like the, oh, my R9 SAS went first before your R8 SAS, and it's just much easier for us to win, right? And that's been the ships thing for quite some time. So they're going to buff it, right? Again, rip to all the R9 SAS owners. I also really am interested in seeing what this buff is to Dagger, because currently, right now, Chimera is really a solid counter to Leviathan. It could get buffed in such a way that maybe we can't get that done anymore, right? And then it's really going to get kind of interesting and really kind of hazy with what happens with Leviathan, right? So anyways, that was the drama this week, right? That was the big drama, I suppose, in the Galaxy of Heroes realm. And so, yeah, we'll see what ends up coming about this. But yeah, then we got a little bit of a puzzle. We got Balin Skull's basic abilities, right? Like his ability names. I only show this because it's worthless on its own, but I'm showing this because I think we're basically a week out, or like the event is going to start this week. So if you guys have the mercenaries or like his requirements, then good on you. But I think a lot of people won't have them because it is, it was a challenge to get them, right? So, okay. Now let's go back into the game once it registers that we do need to have the game up. All right, perfect. All right. So this is where we're going to get a little bit more into the personal stuff. Really quick, actually, though, before we go into it, like I said, now Enoch is farmable. He is ready. This was the last requirement of the first half of requirements that Ahsoka has come out with. So I would expect within a few weeks for us to get the next, installation of that. And that's going to sort of match up with the timeline of us getting, the new Ezra Bridger as well. So big things happening on the GL front, big things happening on the Balin Skull front, and now big things happening in the fleet world with Punishing One. The other thing that also happened that they actually didn't make a mention of, but it's per their usual kind of like cadence release, is the sets kind of took over midway through, and we can see what the current stuff is, right? So yeah, we got both light and dark side alignments here, and then our factions are going to be Mercenary, Ufu, and Old Republic. This one's sort of like, I don't know, because I feel like this is really meant for Balin Skull, and like he's going to get his own Datacron. I don't know how well this is going to work outside of that. You know, again, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes about it. But here we go with Ufu again, right? It feels like we can never really get rid of Inquisitors, which is great for those that invested in them. Same thing with like Star Killer, you know, all those guys. Like the Ufu faction is just like the most, it feels like they're the most applicable faction of all time, just because of all the tags they get. And then Old Republic's interesting, right? You've got Jedi Knight Revan, you've got Sortie, you've got Karth, right? I know a lot of people haven't thought about Karth in years, but I think he's going to come back somewhat relevant. But the big thing is, like, I feel like with this set, it's going to be very similar to what we currently have post the buffs, right? Or I said post the nerfs. This set was really, really strong. This, I don't even know what it was called, but yeah, the one that's going to stay alive after this, the yellow one, Rambunctious Rage. This one was really, really strong. And then they started kind of nerfing it a little bit. And then I was like, oh, there's nice things in here. Obviously, it's better than not having Datacrons at all and stuff like that. And there's some really strong teams. But it feels like really kind of capped. And I feel like that's sort of what's also going to happen here. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just letting you guys know, like, there's a few like really broad applicable things that can help, right? Obviously, Darkseid has the, you know, the bulk crons on level 3. Those are always applicable, but felt like they're like with those factions that they listed off, it was like, oh man, like we're kind of tailored into what we need to be doing. So just a little something. All right. Like I said, though, this is going to be the personal part of this thing, and we'll talk a little bit about this. So the question might be like, am I quitting the game? That's an interesting one, and it's very like how should I say? It's a very dynamic answer. I did leave Maw Vanguard today, and it was a tough decision, but also kind of not. Very good guild. Very, very happy with our performance. Like, our performance is the reason why I ended up leaving, which is a weird thing to say. And I'll kind of like, I guess, I'll explain that a little bit more. But I actually talked about this a little bit on the Gambit podcast roundtable a little bit. I always for a long time now, I have seen myself as a Territory Wars player. GAC has been fun. It's PvP. I love it. Right. But, ultimately, like, I always really, really liked the teamwork aspect. I really liked that aspect of it. Like, and the theory crafting was top notch. I've said this before. I'm always surprised every season when a Datacron set dusts. I always go check up on .gg and I look at some of the counters that we ran and I see if they somehow trickled out, right? And obviously some of them do. Some of them become very well known. Some of them become not so known, right? And like some of them never get found out. And I was always really like, I felt really privileged, I guess, to be, you know, in that era where I could fight something in GAC and then also do something interesting, you know, outside of GAC in another PvP realm that no one else knew. Like, I don't want to make it sound like I wanted to withhold things, but it's nice that you're not doing the same thing over and over again, right? Like, there sometimes, like with GAC too, I find even with 9 matches, you find that you start to do things kind of repetitively. And for me, TW and GAC became such separate entities that it was nice not having to kind of count on that, you know, repetitiveness. Like, oh, I guess I'm just going to use an example. I guess I'm going to use Jedi Knight Revan against SLK again, right? For the 15th time during this set, right? So in that sense, that's why I really liked having that division. I also really enjoyed, like I said, just knowing that we were doing really, really well. I mean, I've showed it on this stream, or like on these videos, right? Like we've won so many just since I've been in that guild. And that's probably why I ended up like being at, like the best way I could explain is that I'm really content, right? I was at peace, I guess, if you will, as well. I never thought that I was going to beat Cop Patrol. I never thought that I was going to beat Monochromium. I never thought that I was going to beat Erodium. I never thought I was going to beat some of these guilds. I am the guy that climbed the ladder, you know, to use a Game of Thrones reference. And I was in guilds that just, we would get matched against them, but I knew we basically had no shot at beating them. And so to be in a guild where we not just had a shot, but we ended up fulfilling it a few times, that felt really good. And it's sort of like, I almost felt like, oh, will I ever do, like, what's the point of continuing to push if I've already kind of climbed Mount Everest, so to speak, right? If I've already kind of accomplished what I've wanted to accomplish, is there a reason for me to kind of keep pushing? Well, you know, there's always, you know, you can always find reasons, right? I could always just say, well, I want to do it again, right? And there's part of me that still does, but the other part of me is just like, I kind of just want to chill. Life's been really crazy, like I've said earlier in the video. And so that's my long-winded answer to why I am now with 501st Legion Commandos. It is a guild actually that I started, and the backstory on it is hilarious, but we'll go into that a little bit. It's like some other time if you guys want to really know about it. It's actually a really hilarious story. But yeah, anyways, I'm Anno 90. I'm now part of 501st Legion Commandos. I'm currently running this team. We've talked about it. I have swapped out Dagger for Sith Assassin, or I guess it's the other way around. I swapped out Sith Assassin for Dagger. I think it makes it harder. We'll see. We'll end up seeing how it ends up being. It'll make it easier for the mirror matches, obviously. But currently, we have this big influx of people that are vying for number one, and I don't want to tailgate anyone out of it, but I also don't want to end up like 50th, you know, in my fleet arena. So that's why I made the swap. We're currently going through GAC week 2. First week I went 1-2. Not a good week for me, but again, I was also super busy. And then second week right now that we're in, I'm 2-0 so far. I still got to do my third match. All right, so now we'll get into the roster review kind of thing that we're going for with these. I know this is going to be an extra long video. I'm already looking at the time, so we'll kind of try to get through this as fast as possible, but I do want to dedicate some time to show you guys what I'm currently doing. Now, I guess I'll bring you here to ships first. So I had about I think up to 10,000 crystals. I used 5,000 on Dangar, and Punishing One. I got him up to I think it was 5 stars, and this is just the shards that I've been getting on repeat essentially for the event. I don't have any plans on 7-starring him, even though he is a ship that I think is for fleet he is going to be meta defining, right? He's going to be very important for Executor in the future, and the future of PvP in that sense, right? I'm also very curious now if we can use Executor on the dark side missions, maybe to potentially get a little bit better off on those, but for TB. But in PvP, he absolutely will be a player. So if you guys are 7-starring him, congrats. I think you guys got a really good ship on your guys' hands. Okay, so what I've been doing, I've really just been hoarding. I haven't been applying too many relic levels because we're about to go through an influx of them, right? Like I said, I don't think I'm gonna get Balin. I did drop crystals on Marok. That kind of got me down to 5,000. I ended up accumulating more, and then that's what got me to I think the 10,000, and then that's where I dropped them on Punishing One, right? So All that to say, right? I just the bad point was Shin. I saw the packs. I was like, I have crystals, but I thought that punishing one was going to be a galactic chase. I was like, I really need to save the crystals for that. And it ended up being a marquee. I still ended up using the same amount of crystals, 5 to 6,000 on punishing one, but it ended up not fulfilling me to the 7 stars, right? Like, so that's where the bad part is for that. So the only big relics that I did were Great Mothers and Morgan Elsbeth. Those were I brought up to 7. And then I did bring up Luthen as well to 7, just so that way I could do the TB mission easier and kind of have that peace of mind, because I wasn't gonna relic up anyone else. He is really good there, so you can get some extra get to there. And then I just finished Night Trooper's farm to 7 stars, and he's currently at relic 0. And again, I've just, because of all the different farming, like I'm kind of out of signal data, so I just want to hold it until I know for sure I'm going to spend it, because yeah, the set's coming out too, and I want to make sure that if maybe I need to push Zalbar or something like that up, like I can get that done, receive some crystals, in the meantime, while Night Trooper becomes more of a relevant task for me for the Ahsoka farm. But yeah, that's sort of just my thought process here. I got Merrick to basically 6 stars. Again, I dropped, I think it was like 5 or 6k crystals. I was down to like 2,000 at one point, and then like I said, I've just sort of been building back up. And then yeah, Shin as well. Like I said, that was probably the mistake, is that I saw Shin's and I was like, I need to go for punishing one. And we'll see how that plays out for me. And I've been farming Death Trooper and Captain Enoch, 3 refreshes each day on the node, right? And again, that really taps me out as far as like energy on the 50s goes. Should be unlocking Ezra next time around. I'll need to red crate for him, pretty much. And then that's pretty much it, guys. Like that's kind of it. Now, again, I kind of want to rehash things. I really want to say this like to kind of leave you guys with, I am not retiring from the game. I'm just taking it a little bit easier. I'm waiting to see if there's something that I really am like passionate about. Currently, my only passion is that I've committed to is, before I retire from the game, I will make sure that this entire faction of 501st is R9. They're my favorite, and they've always been my favorite. I will always and forever hold these guys my favorite. They do really cool things for me all the time. And before I leave the game, I'm going to R9 them, and I'm going to enjoy them for a few GACs or TWs or whatever. And then I'll, let the game go or whatever. It's not currently like that. The best way I can describe it is what I said earlier, is that I'm at peace. I have done everything that I've wanted to do in this game. And at this point, every day that I have is just kind of more like a chill day that I can wake up and play a Star Wars game. I have no resentment. I have no something didn't happen. I wasn't like, oh my God, I freaking hate CG, and like, I can't believe they have this many bugs. Like, nothing of that. Like, I've kind of accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. And now it's just about kind of collecting and, like having fun a little bit more, rather than trying to be like so competitive and trying to be so much more, on those other aspects. So what does that mean for my videos? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I think I might have more time, but we'll see. And hopefully I can come with a little bit more content than I've been able to kind of push out these last few months. But I really can't promise that, just because my life is crazy. And I've said that a few times now. And I know everyone's life is crazy. So I really appreciate all your guys' time and watching the video and just hanging out. But yeah, that's really kind of where I'm at. Like, every day I wake up and I'm just like, there's no pressure, right? Like that's where I want to be at, and that's kind of where I'm at right now with the game. If I want to get my 600 and I want to do certain things, then I'll do them. And if I don't, then that is what it is. So anyways, guys, hopefully that clears things up. Hopefully this was a fun and entertaining video. Hopefully it also was somewhat informative on some of the week's happenings. Like I said, I know life is crazy. I had to get caught up. Hopefully this helps you guys get caught up. And we'll see what Balin Skull is all about. I don't think I'm going to get him. But again, I'm not going to put any pressure on myself either way. So we'll see you guys in the next one. And thanks for watching, guys.